Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Reckoning of Roku chapter analysis video. This one's going to be for chapter 42, which is called The Dirt Eaters. Once again, before we start, YouTube channel membership is enabled on the channel if you would like to help support, and subscribing also helps. Otherwise, we have a quite action-centric chapter here as we get the kind of battle basically between the Earthbenders and the group that is basically Malaya, Gyatso, Sozin, Dalasai, and Kozaru. But there is some character drama towards the end because of how the fight sort of comes to an end. It's from Malaya's point of view. That's quite interesting going into the next sequence of chapters because there's some big stuff happening here because we are very much in the final sequence of the book at this point. So what happens here is, Malaya is leading them to find the Earthbenders. She can sense that they're right ahead because her senses are stronger than everyone else's. And they're all like, wait, we don't sense anything. They're heading up towards the Fire Bamboo Grove. And what we get here is the environment of this fight is effectively a small path with big bamboo rows either side of it. So the Earthbenders have a pretty strong defensive position here in that like you can't just kind of flank them on the sides. So there's only one way straight down the center to really attack them. It is 5-on-3 in favor of our kind of hero characters. There's only 3 Earthbenders. But they're going to be quite good defensively, of course, as you would expect from Earthbenders. So there's an initial attempt to stop this from being a fight as like everyone just tries to talk to each other, but it's pretty clear it's going to result in a fight, and Malaya kind of takes the lead here. She gets out in front of Sozin to, I suppose, ultimately try to prevent things from going like immediately super violent. But what happens here is, to change the battlefield, what she does is she flies forward and they block the first couple of attacks. She's like, boost me. Gyatso kind of uses airbending to fire her over the line of 3 Earthbenders. She lands just behind the last one and then immediately uses her knife to slash at his leg, and he goes down paralyzed because it's revealed she has coated her blade with basilisk centipede poison. So one of the Earthbenders is out of the picture immediately. But because the fight has started, there's a little bit of chaos, and of course we effectively have a group not used to fighting together, and it's all in pretty tight quarters. So even though Malaya has done some really good stuff right at the start of the fight, she goes to start her fight against the next Earthbender in line, but then all of a sudden Dalasai's rope dart kind of hits her in the shoulder by accident. And so this gives the Earthbender an opening to, Malaya takes like a knee to the face here and gets like sent flying backwards with some earthbending. So she takes a pretty bad hit here. And while she's down, this is where like the firebending comes in, and the Earthbenders are obviously defending for their lives here. But anyway, Malaya gets back up, but right as she gets back up to defend herself, Gyatso, his role in this fight is basically to be the air nomad, trying to stop everyone from fighting. He's trying to just blow everyone away, keep them back, and get weapons out of people's hands, stop attacks from being like fatal, that sort of thing. But one of his attacks blows the dagger out of Malaya's hand, and so she has to pick up some broken bamboo poles to act as kind of fighting sticks here. So then we get this very interesting sequence here where we get Malaya against the female Earthbender guard here. So it's this really up-close melee battle of Earthbender being quite defensive against an offensive non-bender here. And it's really, really close, but then we get to the idea of Malaya does this really, full power attack, and it actually cracks the rock fist of her opponent. And they both realize kind of what this means, which is the idea that when Malaya kind of hits with full force, she can crack and kind of break through the rock with these bamboo poles. And so Malaya goes all out attack here. And so the Earthbender's on the defensive. Her rock armor is getting kind of chipped away. And then we get the big moment here, the character moment here, which is the woman's armor goes away. And so all of a sudden now Malaya is hitting like flesh and bone basically with the bamboo poles here. And the woman is kind of like crying, her arms are like bloody and stuff like that, but Malaya keeps on hitting. And in the narration, we get this interesting thing of Malaya thought of the dead and the injured they pulled from the rubble as her sticks clacked and cracked repeatedly against flesh and bone. When Ulo had ordered Amihan to end the earthbenders before, Malaya tried to help them because she believed they had not done anything to deserve death. Now they had. And the only thing that stops her from really, really badly injuring this earthbender is Gyatso stepping in and being like, Malaya, stop, she's done. But still, Malaya actually continues to attack and has to be kind of blown back by Gyatso's airbending. He does it gently, but there's a bit of a moment here. She tries to push past him again, but then she catches his eye, and she can see the look Gyatso is giving her, the way he's looking at her. It's like, and looked around as if he was, as if waking from a nightmare, because the way he looked at her, as if she were a monster, stopped her in her tracks. And Gyatso doesn't really talk to Malaya for this little section at the end of the chapter here. He instead focuses on helping the injured earthbender here. It's at this point we get the idea that Kozaru, Sozin, and Dalasai have dealt with the other earthbender. He's not dead, but they've kind of knocked him out. He's unconscious. And so, yeah, this is the fight over with. One paralyzed, one with injured arms, and then one has been taken out by the other firebenders. Dalasai is kind of temporarily missing, but we'll get the explanation for that in just a second. Gyatso is not talking to Malaya throughout all of this, and so she gets very into her head about this and the idea of, once again, has she messed up her relationship with Gyatso because she lost her temper and was going to try and injure this person in this fight? And it's an interesting one because, Gyatso, I think, is annoyed that she has gone this far. But, like, you understand why he is frustrated at this and, like, maybe is annoyed that after everything they've talked about that she has, attempted to do this. She's lost herself to her anger a little bit. But interestingly, I think this is probably an even more telling part for her and how she feels about herself, is that Sozin comes up to her and is like, wow, you're half Kozaru's size, but twice as fierce. I could put those talents to good use if you're interested in making some gold. And she doesn't want to speak to him because she doesn't like Sozin from first impressions either. And so the idea that her, like, attack here has impressed him doesn't impress her about herself. So that's the big thing. Sozin immediately is like, hey, okay, we've dealt with the dirt eaters. Now let's get on with finding Roku. How much further is the cave? We're going this way. Malaya tries to apologize to Gyatso, saying, like, I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. He continues to not talk to her, but instead help the woman with her arm injuries overall. He tells the woman, it's going to hurt for a while, but you'll be all right. And Malaya's kind of like, I imagine those words were for me as well, if only, kind of type thing. And again, she really feels that, is this it? Have I shown my true self by doing what I did there at the end of that fight? Am I no better than Ulo or Amihan? Is she broken? Is this because of the way she was raised and how she was lived? Or is she making excuses here to explain behind this stuff? And she notes the regret here because she and Gyatso had been getting on better and better. And she'd been getting on with him better than anyone else, like, ever before, really. And she had been even trying to work up the courage to ask if she might leave with him and Roku after all this was over. But that was out of the question now. He would probably never look at her the same way again. She had revealed something feral and brutal lived within her, something that was antithetical to everything that the air nomad stood for, everything that she had come to admire about him. Maybe that's who she truly was. And that's where, kind of, for the most part, the chapter ends for Malaya, is just really pondering the idea of, has she badly messed up this? Now, on one hand, you're like, this is actually a quite intense way to end the chapter, but if you've noticed the characterization of Malaya since she's met Gyatso, there has been one or two things since she's become friends with him where she has tended to lean towards this direction of like, tell me about Yama, and she thinks, oh, have I pushed too much too far? Will I push him away forever by asking about something so important to him? So she does tend to be quite kind of harsh on herself about these things, because she kind of doesn't know how to be particularly close to someone. So you definitely, I think, have to view this as her being like exceptionally harsh on herself with this, but also the fact that Gyatso, at least in this chapter, doesn't say anything to her. It's a bit of a kind of interesting way they want you to think about this kind of relationship going forward, that it has been going so well, and then her doing this kind of violent move in the middle of a fight, might that have actually affected things? But we'll see how it goes in the next chapter. It's probably not as bad as you think it actually is. But the actual final scene of the chapter is that Dalasai appears once again, and it's revealed that she has gone to get Malaya's dagger that was blown away in the middle of the fight. One of the things that we get here is that she's like, oh, I felt bad for accidentally hitting you, so I went back and found your dagger. And Malaya's like, it's not mine, because it's Amihan's, of course. She says, it's exquisitely crafted. And she looks at it and can see that it's the black-red metal. What kind of steel is this? And Malaya just says it's made from local elements. You can keep it. So that's a notable kind of cliffhanger to a chapter of like, Malaya has given Dalasai a weapon made out of this special metal. And Dalasai is the character who is very interested in metals, alloys, metallurgy. This is a notable thing in terms of, okay, now there is a Fire Nation character who is suddenly aware of the significance and interesting nature of the steel on this island that you can make. That, you know, it's made from local elements. What these local elements are is very, very interesting. So suddenly Dalasai jumping a little bit more into the spotlight again. But overall, it's about the, I think, pretty well constructed action scene that I thought did quite a good job at highlighting Malaya's skill, the defensive nature of the earthbenders here, but also I did actually really like that exploration of Malaya losing herself in the middle of the action of just like, I put my neck out in a way for these earthbenders, and now look at what they've done to my tribe. And in the heat of battle, she loses herself a bit, and now she really feels, am I a monster for doing that, or is it understandable and I just need to keep myself in check kind of going forward? And I think that's an interesting dynamic for Malaya. But yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this chapter. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.